Right. So, do we even need to?
Kaiser.
Don't call him that.
Oh, wait.
The Divine Julius.
Yeah.
I be honest, he's the only one I really know anything about because I watched Historia Civilis' series on Caesar.
Okay.
And out of that, I came away thinking, really? I'll be honest, because the whole thing about, besieging the Gauls, what if I build another wall? Like, it is smart, but it's also really dumb.
It's like 4chan designed his
Why is it
tactics.
dumb? It won.
No, but that's the point, is it
It sounds orcish. Right?
perfectly on the money. Yeah, it's like 4chan or orcs.
Yeah.
When you think about the victories he has, they're just kind of funny because the tactics are really weird, but they are definitely genius, but they are also retarded.
It's a bit of a tried and tested thing. Double walls of circumvallation. In the Middle
Tried and
Ages,
tested by him. Yeah.
right? Yeah, as a concept, it is a bit crazy, right?
Yeah.
Imagine
But
being
yeah,
the
what was
order.
that? That's Elysium you're talking about, right? In
Yeah,
Gaul.
like imagine being the Romans. You've just built this big bloody wall. Oh, finally, work's done. Build another one. What? I mean, you just would look at him funny, but yeah, it's genius. It worked perfectly.
Thing is, it only really worked perfectly because his opponents were.
You want to call them a slur, the Gauls?
French.
I was going to say. I was going to say impulse control deficient barbarians.
Global South, huh?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The Gauls are definitely part of the global south. Wouldn't have worked against someone more competent, I would say. Right. But in his defense, he was invading a vast country full of crazed barbarians and huge numbers of them. And he nearly lost many times. He only had like one or two reverses in great battles. So definitely one of history's best. Let's see the stats here.
One of the things I would say about Julius Caesar, why he deserves his reputation for being among the greatest of all time, is that where I mentioned you might have a boxer who had 40 fights but never fought anyone world class. Caesar's the opposite. He fought everyone that was great that he could have during his time.
Yeah.
He fought
Ariovistus, Vercingetorix, Pompey.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So not only lots of very, very good sort of Gauls or barbarian leaders, but he, with inferior armies, he fought Roman armies.
Yeah.
And bested them every time. He fought armies that on paper, at least, should be at least close to, if not as good as his armies. Yeah. And he whooped them every time.
Yes.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but at some point where he was fighting the other Romans, was it Pompey and Crassus?
Yeah. Pompey.
Crassus was already dead by this point.
Okay, so Pompey.
Pompey.
I've heard that he told his soldiers to aim with their spears towards the faces of the cavalry of Pompey's men, because he said that all these people, they just care about their political career. They want their faces to appear on the Senate. So if you point their spears upon their faces, they're gonna just completely black out, and you're gonna crush them. Was that actual?
I don't know if it is true that that's the reason, but in the last, what was the last battle between Pompey and Caesar?
Greece, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in Greece.
Pharsalus.
Yeah, it is true that Caesar has his cavalry on the wing and puts a thin line of infantry using their pila as spears to drive off the cavalry, and somehow that works. It's just very lucky.
It's also
really have worked.
It's worth mentioning that Caesar did get driven out of the British Isles by a bunch of boys in chariots throwing spears.
True.
It was only ever a putative expedition. It was never.
They didn't.
That's what Caesar says.
Yeah. That's Caesar's coat.
I wasn't
going to
trying to conquer the island. I was just having a look-see.
He tried to kill our ancestors. Are we going to be charitable enough to take him at his word? I don't know.
To be fair, though, he wasn't crushed. Like, he did manage to get his army back.
That's true.
So
that was close, though. Didn't half the ships get destroyed by the storm, and then he had to build some new ships?
Yeah, but that's not.
I want out. I hate this place.
I love the Britons going to be like, half your fleet got destroyed by the storms. It's like, yeah, but you didn't do that.
I'm not saying they did.
Britannia rules the waves. I mean, how clear could it be?
I'm just saying if a boat migrant can do it, and he got next to boat migrant levels of falling in the sea.
True.
But, I also think Caesar, you can attribute to Caesar some of the same things that you can with Hannibal and Alexander and Wellington, where almost anyone else wouldn't have pulled it off.
Yeah.
You needed someone with, again, sort of that genius eye. So, for example, one little example, when Caesar goes over to Egypt with one legion,
Very brave.
It's like Wellington trying to attack the entire Scindia's army with half his army is vastly outnumbered. They've got 100 cannon. You're going to charge all this? You're mad.
Yeah.
That's tactically insane. Oh, but you pulled it off.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I've got to give you massive credit then. I have
Yeah.
to.
Didn't he do it for political reasons though?
Are we talking about Caesar in
Caesar,
Egypt?
yeah.
Right.
He
They
was
take
chasing-
the king
yeah, there
hostage or something.
There was also many layers of
Yeah.
other things
Like,
going on.
This is
There's-
mad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think it's not unimportant because to that scene, it speaks to your point, which is that it's such an insane move, and he
Yeah.
does it. I think something else with Caesar, though, because I guess I've been shitting on him a bit, but he's unbelievably crafty in his out of military life as well.
Oh, great. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That
yeah.
feeds
Very
back into the
cynical
military
politician.
life.
Sorry.
But it's again, I mean, all I really know is the Historia Civilis version of his life, but it seems
Probably
to
pretty
me,
good. I haven't seen it.
yeah, he seems to me a proper goat.
Oh yeah.
No, Caesar was an extremely cynical and effective politician,
Yes.
as well as one of the greatest military generals of all time. I mean,
One thing I like about Caesar is his phenomenal aptitude for risk taking.
Mm.
Like, and I say it's an aptitude because lots of people can take risks and have them blow up in your face. But Caesar's risks are always incredibly well calculated and somehow pay off. I mean, like, invading Gaul itself is, in the Roman mind, a terrifying thing to do because, of course, Gaul's full of these giant barbarians who have sacked Rome and
It's
repeatedly.
huge.
Yeah, it's huge, and they are huge, and they've destroyed loads of Roman armies over the course of history. They've always been a terror. So it's like, okay, well, that's so you're just going to walk into these dark forests, are you, Caesar? He's like, yeah, I am actually, and I'm going to win. And then he comes out like 5 years later. It's like, yeah, I won actually, and now I'm taking over Rome actually. And what are you going to do about it? And it's just like, okay, well, and he does, right? And then he defeats everyone.
I think it was his political acumen though that helped him do that because he was turning Gaulish tribes against one another. So I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
that applying, and
Yeah.
it made the military victory possible.
Yeah.
I think.
But Caesar also just massacred probably like 1 million Gauls.
Wasn't it? I know Dan. What's his name? From you like him, Dan? I forgot his name. The podcaster, Dan something. What is
oh,
it?
Dan Carling,
That's the one.
Oh,
Yeah.
the
He-
podfather of all history podcasts. Dan Carling, yeah.
Yes.
Who I've had a
didn't-
conversation with on my channel, History Bro. Check it out, like and subscribe.
Didn't he say that about a third of all of Gaul had been killed after Caesar's campaign?
Perhaps something as much as that.
Mm.
Right. There's
Oh.
some kind of genocide level of slaughter went
Well,
on.
Caesar himself bragged that he'd enslaved a third, annihilated a third, and conquered a third.
Okay.
So, like, and that
That is so cool. I'm sorry, but I know it's a horrible thing to do, but from a general perspective,
killed a third of all Frenchmen.
yeah, like if Wellington came back and was like, I killed a third of the French, I enslaved a third of the French, he'd be like, oh, okay, you're pretty serious.
It's like that thing Stalin said, one death is a tragedy or 1 million is just a statistic or something like that.
That's
It's like when,
misattributed to him, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry to tip my fedora on.
But it's like you say,
Those
it's kind
badass
of
quotes.
cool. It's like Tamerlane was responsible for the death of maybe 5% of the entire world's population. You've got to go, well done.
Yeah.
What else
Patron
can I
saint-
say? I mean,
Patron saint of the Green Party there.
who's that?
Tamerlane.
Yeah.
Is he?
Killed 5%.
No,
of
he's
Oh,
not
sorry.
actually.
I was just saying, how does that make any sense? Okay,
But
I get
actually,
what
it
you're
does
saying.
make
though.
sense.
I get what you're saying, though. One thing I wanted to say about Caesar and what you said,
Yeah.
building on what you said about being a great gambler, being able to calculate things right down to the finest of margins every time,
Yeah.
practically every time. That's kind of super, super rare. It's like the thing where you get professional poker players, so that you think poker's a game of chance. Well, it is and it isn't,
Yeah.
because you get the same guys that are able to consistently win. It's because they're playing their ability to manage risk, your risk management skills. It's like trading,
Yeah.
being a professional trader. Well, you are gambling, okay, but you're playing with chance in such a way that you will, over time, always or nearly always win. Caesar does that with the whole world.
Yeah.
That the whole world is his trading platform or whatever, however you want to think of it. He's playing poker with battles and armies and winning every time.
And
It's absolutely remarkable, really.
But another thing Caesar does is just make sure his army is just better than everyone else's, and that's another thing that again is underrated. For example, like after he's conquered Gaul, he's got an incredibly hardcore of veterans that comprise his army, mean, this gives him just a phenomenal advantage. So when he ends up going over to the east, this is where you get the Veni Vidi Vici. Just I went over and smacked. What is it, Pontus or something? It's just some Eastern kingdom. I can't remember which one it was. But that's when he just sends the sort of one-line missive. Yeah, I came, I saw, I conquered. Because they're nobody's. Like I've been there, I've done it all. They're not the Gauls. They're not the bloody Romans. Like it's just I've done that, and that was quick. And that's the sign of someone who's just at the very top of their game. It's like, I knew this wasn't going to be a challenge, so I moved on.
But ultimately, he did have an issue reading people. His people reading skills wasn't. Your
luck will run out at some point. The best poker players in the end will lose a game.
Yeah.
The best boxers, even undefeated people like Mayweather or someone, if they had enough fights, eventually they would lose one. You cannot win forever.
If you would like to watch the rest of the live event videos, please go to lotuseaters.com.